Good morning, traders. I am Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd. Mixed but muted. Markets ended mixed but close to flat yesterday as overall sentiment remains cautious. The Nasdaq was the day's only winner, adding 33 points or 0.18%. The Dow gave up 6 points or just 0.02%. The S&P 500 also ended barely in the red, down 2 points or 0.05%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're down 0.21%, a little over 0.2% this morning. Yeah, there's a lot of negativity in the air, but this morning we're seeing the weakness as Treasury yields are nudging higher. That's kind of an issue. You had a bunch of earnings reports, but I will say, Boston Scientific, Stride, Texas Instruments, Package Group of Corp, they're all trading higher after earnings releases, so that's good. But Starbucks, SBUX, they pre-released last night their Q4 EPS, and it wasn't good, it wasn't pretty, and their suspended guidance, and that stock really took a hit last night, and it's still down over 3% this morning. McDonald's, hey, that's the big story. MCD, Michael Charlie David, E.coli outbreak sending shares lower. It's said to be linked to onions. Yeah, it's really kind of in the Colorado area, but so you get an E. coli outbreak, and it's negative for you no matter what. What do we have on the docket today? We got a Bank of Canada meeting. Expectations are for a 50 basis point rate cut. I see Fed Governor Michelle Bowman. She's going to be speaking before the market opens today. That could be something, but we'll have to wait and see what she says. We're looking overseas, the market's overseas, and we're looking at the DAX. The DAX is down 0.09%, about 0.1% or about 18 points. There's some weakness in pharmaceuticals and materials. It's not crazy. FTSE's down 0.44%. There are some global economic concerns on the potential effects of UK exports to companies with exposure to China. I see the CAC in Paris is down 43 points or 0.58%. Listen, L'Oreal released earnings, not good. The luxury sector as a whole is under pressure during those earnings reports. Then we're looking last night in Asia. Asia was kind of a mixed bag. I mean, the Nikkei fell 307 points, which is about 0.8%. It's driven by weakness in tech. I mean, the yen continues to depreciate. Fall past the 152 per dollar rate. But the Hang Seng in Hong Kong actually rose 261 points, or 1.27%. The Shanghai in China, increased by 0.52%. There are news reports that the government that the Chinese government may deploy as much as $280 billion to establish like a stock market, what do they call it? Stock market stabilization fund. Interesting. I mean, that's that provides a little bit of safety for the Shanghai market, so that I guess that's positive. I just don't know if that's enough. Then we're turning our attention to oil because oil is trading lower. It's down, overall. WTI is at $70.45 a barrel, down 1.8%. We got Brent at $74.72 a barrel, down 1.74%. About the stockpiles data. Last night we got the API data out, and it showed that stockpiles rose by 1.6 million barrels last week. And later this morning, you got the EIA announcement, and if that coincides with the API announcement, you're going to see oil prices continuing to fall. Remember, we do see, some increased activity, demand coming out of China that helped oil prices yesterday. But Saudi Arabia is about to kick up their oil exports, and when they do that, you're going to see that oil fall below. It'll fall below, in the $60 range. So let's keep an eye on oil. But that increase doesn't start to occur till December. So we still got a month to go. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, mentioned a number of key factors there. That Starbucks early release for earnings, a number of other companies that are trading higher after their releases. You did mention, that EIA stockpiles report, putting that together with data from yesterday to watch oil prices. So we're going to follow all of these details on today's show. We're going to turn to earnings action first. Bill, give us a rundown of what is going on in terms of earnings.
Oh, let's see what we have here. We got TXN, Texas Instruments, Tom X-Ray Nancy. They beat by 9 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. That stock's up 2.39% this morning. Starbucks reported preliminary Q4 EPS, and it was a miss of 23 cents, and it was done on lower revenue. It stock's down 3.19%. Package Corp of America, PKG, Paul Kilo Grace, they beat by 15 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. Stock's up 4.31%. Coca-Cola, ticker KO, they beat by 3 cents. They did it on higher revenue. Stock's down 1.59%. General Dynamics, they also released this morning. They reported a miss of 12 cents, but it was done on higher revenue. Avery Dennison, they beat by a penny. They only met on revenue. AT&T, they beat by 3 cents. They did it on lower revenue. The guidance was right in the middle, so we'll see. Upcoming this afternoon, we got Tesla, ticker TSLA, Tom, Sam, Larry, Apple. Their EPS is 58 cents with an expected move of 3.68%. They've got IBM also releasing this afternoon, International Business Machines. Their EPS is $2.25 with an expected move of 6.14%. And Viking Therapeutics, VKTX, Victor Kilo, Tom X-Ray. Remember, they got that weight loss drug. They're expected to lose 24 cents a share, but the expected move is 7.66% when they release. And that's what I have for in terms of earnings announcements, Emily.
A couple of key players to be watching this afternoon. And speaking of key information, there's some notable economic reports and some Fed speak coming out today. So, Bill, give us a rundown of what we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Yeah, it's an interesting day. I mean, at 10 a.m. you got existing home sales. The figure's supposed to come in at 3.84 million units. That would be like a drop of 0.5%. We also get at 10 a.m. We also get the Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations. At 10:30, we get the EIA oil stockpiles report, and then at 2 p.m. we get the Beige Book. The Beige Book, provides good context for the upcoming Fed policy meeting next month. It's something to keep an eye on. We also got a Bank of Canada meeting where they're expected to lower interest rates to 3.75 from the current rate of 4.25. And then in terms of Fed speak, Michelle Bowman, she's speaking at 9 a.m. this morning. And then at noon, we're going to hear from Philadelphia Fed Bank President Thomas Barkin. I will say that, the Fed appears to be balancing their need for looser monetary policy against the risk of rising inflation and what really is a still strong economy. I mean, but I think that they're going to continue their cautious talk on their rate setting policies. But we'll keep an ear out and we'll see what they have to say when these Fed speakers speak later today, Emily.
And Bill, as we wade through this sort of cautious sentiment and all of this information, you're still looking for opportunity by keeping track of yet still other types of news. You're looking at things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, catalyst calls. You also look at your stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks, really keep a pulse on any trends for the trading day. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
I'm doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 20 lower, 7 higher, the rest unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. Slight gains in Meta and Google. Everything else is trading lower. So yeah, I do think we're going to have a weak opening today. I mean, if there's any, what's the banks look like they're going to be opening up weaker. The semiconductors seem to be opening up weaker as well. Cybersecurity stocks look weak. So, we look like we're going to have some weakness today, but that's okay. We're looking at some of the news behind the headlines, like Apple. Tim Cook, he commits to more investments in China as he met with some Chinese officials recently. Amazon did a deal with BP Amoco where the Prime members are going to receive a 10-cent discount on gas. That's kind of interesting. Qualcomm Google, this is really on Google. Qualcomm announces a collaboration with Google for generative AI cockpit solutions. Tesla, hey, earnings out after the bell, expected to post lower profits on higher sales in Q3. We're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. Obviously, the big story is McDonald's with that E.coli outbreak. It's clearly negative. The brokers are talking about defending the stock, but there's more weakness to come in MCD. It's not like this is going to be a long-term event for them. But last night I was trying to buy some at 284, and stock's trading 293 now. So there could be some weakness this morning. Keep an eye on it. If you can get in cheap, it's a good value. McDonald's isn't going anywhere. Let's talk Amazon, ticker AMZN. They're going to be shut down their Amazon Today, which is their same-day delivery service. What else do we see here happening in the Dow stocks? Do you see anything else exciting? Boeing unveils a $6 billion quarterly loss ahead of the key vote by the striking machinists union. Now, Boeing's union is expected to ratify this agreement. You look at Boeing stock; it's not getting hit. It's down 0.75%. It was trading 160. It was trading a little higher this morning. They pre-announced the earnings. You knew they're going to be bad. So that, once they get this machinist vote where they ratify the agreement, I'd expect to see Boeing move past the 160 mark again today. It's one thing to keep an eye on. In terms of merger news, this is interesting to me. Spirit Airlines, ticker SAVE, SAVE, Sam Apple, Victor Edward. Frontier Group is considering making a new, fresh bid for Spirit Airlines. Remember, about 6 months ago, it was all about Frontier Group and JetBlue. JetBlue, kept raising the price because Frontier kept raising their price. Frontier didn't really want to buy them, I don't think. I think they were just trying to screw JetBlue. And, JetBlue had a lot on the table because they had already renounced a deal that they did with American Airlines for gate sharing. So they had to do this deal. But the FTC said no to the deal. So JetBlue's not going to be jumping for joy to get back into it. But Frontier Group, ULCC, is jumping into it, and they're considering making a fresh bid. And they're going to regret their aggressive nature in trying to boost the price of Spirit Airlines, because if they want this deal, they're going to have to pay up for it. What else? Guidance news: LRN, Stride, Larry, Richard, Nancy. They see Q2 revenue coming in 560 million to 580 million, with the street estimate is 535.4 million. That's a big uptick for shares of LRN. They released earnings, and listen, that stock is really moving this morning. It's up $15 to $80.02. Wow, good move. Starbucks SBUX suspends guidance for fiscal year 2025 for the entire, for the entire year, or is this just now? We'll have to get more on that. Seagate, ticker STX, Sam Tom X-Ray. They see Q2 EPS coming in $1.65 to $2.05, where the street estimate is $1.72. Okay, not great. STX, STX is I think I saw it this morning trading lower. Yeah, it's down about 4% this morning. In terms of shareholders meeting, OLED, which is Universal Display, Oscar, Larry, Edward, David, they're holding a world summit today. Could be something there. In terms of buyback news, SEIC, Sam, Edward, India, Charlie at SEI Investments, they approved a $400 million increase to their share repurchasing program. Catalyst calls CTVA, Charlie, Tom, Victor, Apple. This is Corteva. Citibank opened up a 30-day positive catalyst watch on the shares. And that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
I'm going to go with NDAQ, which is NASDAQ, Nancy, David, Apple, Quinton. Earnings are out tomorrow morning. EPS is 68 cents, and the expected move is 5.32%. You look at yesterday's call volume, 342 calls versus 115 puts. The open interest is 16,560 versus 11,983. And some major brokers have been mostly raising price targets. The one that lowered price targets, that price target was ultra high. So I'm not surprised that they pulled it down, but they still have positive recommendations on the stock. Now, here's the thing about NASDAQ. It's like a publicly traded monopoly. They're focused on cross-selling functionality to the banks and the brokers. And when they find a product that everybody wants, they put it out there at a really cheap price, and then they just raise the price 4 or 5-fold, and they get huge revenue out of it. They have the ability to print money. They have the ability to consistently grow earnings. If not, it's the CEO's fault. I mean, they have the ability to. They're constantly raising prices. I've never seen that. I've never seen a price decrease coming out of NASDAQ. They just don't do it. So NASDAQ, if I can get in $74 range, I mean, I think that would be a good entry point. But that's my pick of the day. NDAQ, Nancy David Apple Quinton, NASDAQ on an earnings play for tomorrow morning, Emily.
NASDAQ it is today. We will follow that along with you, gathering all of that information. Yesterday was a play ahead of earnings. We will see how that went when we do a recap on that. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, let's take a look what we see here. Boeing CEO says company clearly at a crossroads in prepared remarks ahead of the Q3 earnings conference. Yeah, Boeing Q3 reflects the work stoppage and previously announced charges. I mean, the company has a backlog of $511 billion worth of orders. That's over 5,400 planes. They just got to produce it and all things will be fine. Merck, ticker MRK, acquires a Modified Biosciences for $30 million upfront. General Dynamics, GD, trading lower this morning, but the company reported a company-wide backlog of $92.6 billion. Interesting. Eli Lilly, LLY, the UK's health services, they rejected Lilly's Alzheimer's drug due to the cost. Yet the drugs proved to be effective. They view it as being effective. They just don't think the cost benefit is worth it. So they're not subscribing to Lilly's Alzheimer's drug. AT&T exceeds wireless subscription estimates on demand for pricey unlimited plans. CME reported a rise in third quarter profit. American Airlines got hit with a $50 million fine for its treatment of disabled passengers. ARM Holdings is canceling an architectural licensing agreement that allows Qualcomm to use intellectual properties to design chips. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off here, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Hilton Worldwide. Now, they did report earnings. They reported adjusted earnings of $1.92 a share. That was above analyst estimates of $1.84 a share. Revenue climbed to $2.87 billion. Now, that was from $2.67 billion, and analysts had expected $2.9 billion, so just slightly below those expectations. They did offer full year 2024 adjusted EPS of $6.93 to $7.03. The consensus there had been $7.06. Sort of a mixed bag when it comes to this one. Markets were mixed yesterday, Bill. Leading into these earnings, some interesting news sort of floating around yesterday, making it sort of choppy waters to trade in. So how did your call work out?
I don't know what to say in this one because, I had a $235 price target of the stock, and you look at it, the stock opened up at $238.13, ran to $239.16 and closed at $238.14. It never came close to my entry point. And then in the aftermarket, after that McDonald's news broke and the Starbucks news broke, I see the stock falling. It's falling down, to the 228 level. So my order's already, my order's already been pulled. I mean, the market's already closed. But it's trading 238, and then it bounced right back down to the 239. So I would have made the 1% ahead. I left the order in, but then the earnings came out, and it was a mixed bag. It could have gone either way, but I got to tell you, it was a throwaway trade for me because I didn't do anything because, it never came close to my entry point. But, you look at it, it was a weird day yesterday. It was an active aftermarket session, Emily.
It was an active aftermarket session. Surely a lot of things to be navigating there. We will call it a throwaway, a flat trade with Hilton Worldwide, but we will check in with you tomorrow about today's NASDAQ pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.